It's time for us to move on to the launch of the SRO for the Indian gold industry. And as each one of our guests take their places on the sofas up here, it's time for me to invite Mr. P.R. Somasundaram on the stage as he talks about this very unique launch. Let's hear it for Mr. P.R. Somasundaram.
Thank you very much. It's going to be a very, very short introduction. There have been several events where we have spoken about the retail gold investment principles, the code of conduct that we have launched. And I have also briefed in some events that we are definitely going to form a self-regulatory organization for the Indian gold industry. It has actually received a lot of support from even the Commerce Minister in the last year's GJEPC. We started this idea of the bullion exchange years ago, and today what we see with the industry support is that we now have an international bullion exchange. We think that we should prioritize the formation of a self-regulatory organization for the bullion industry in India as part of the Swarna Adarsh Abhiyan initiative, which is a code of conduct for the industry. We should have the fate within our own hands and look up to the government and the regulation only as a second level. So it is in that context that we have now brought out a blueprint for the self-regulatory organization. As I am going to reopen this to the market, it is just, as I said, it's still in a blueprint stage. We have had consultations with the wider industry, and I'm reminded 4 years ago we had a similar blueprint for the bullion exchange. Well, it takes time, as some person just written to me. In India, it's never a mega change. It's a confluence. It is these very, very small changes that actually build a power of confluence. If you want women's empowerment, you just don't go around building one law. You just change the education system, you change the inheritance law, you then extend it to the colleges, you extend it to the boards of companies. So you take many small steps. Each step doesn't seem big enough, but as a confluence, they produce a massive impact. And that's exactly what is happening in the Indian bullion market today, gold market. There are many, many small changes. Hallmarking on its own doesn't mean much, on its own. Similarly, you talk about responsible sourcing. You talk about refineries getting better benefits. Each of them don't seem big enough, but as a confluence, they are going to produce an effect. And it is in that context we see the International Bullion Exchange. And we have, in the same vein, we have launched the self-regulatory organization. As a World Gold Council, we are committed to forming a self-regulatory organization. We are very proud about one thing which we have given to the Indian industry, the formation of the India Gold Policy Center at Ahmedabad. It just generated from a discussion I had with the IIM professor, and then we said, intellectuals in India don't talk about gold. It is either the gold industry or somebody in the policy. So why don't people who are doing IIMs, who join various companies, why don't they talk about gold? I think the idea was born there, and today, the IGPC does an excellent service for the industry with various studies. They support the policymakers. We are going to form this SRO in a similar way. We have got the blueprint. So I'm going to just take 5 minutes to just release the blueprint. This has been in the works for nearly a year now. And I obviously can't call everybody around, but I would definitely like a few people to come up on the stage. This, as I said, is a global initiative, but the SRO is an Indian idea. We just want to form a self-regulatory organization which will be very independent, and it will have an independent board. Maybe we will look at some very, very senior ex-bureaucrats to have the board. And we have already codified the principles, but we will keep working on those code of conduct. We'll take feedback, and it will be audited. So retailers who opt for the Swarna Adarsh Abhiyan will certainly stand out as a network of trusted jewelers. So with those few words, I would now request a few people to be on the board. As I said, I would like everybody to be here, but I'm just going to read out a few names. Can I call IGPC, James, Vikas, if you could just release this report. I'm just going to read out a few names. I'm so sorry, I just put it on my mobile. Keyur, Harish, you could join us. I mean, you're from Dubai, but we can't do anything in India without consulting you and the Dubai market, certainly. Is Phil here? If Phil or anybody from this thing. And please, Shivanshu, Mr. Chalani, please, because you are there, and don't worry, I'm not committing you to $1 million check here. Absolutely not. Kotari ji? Is Mr. Kotari there? Surendra Mehta? Mahendran? I mean, you don't have to wait. This is yours. And Mr. Ajmera? So I'm just going to stop. I can't see beyond this. So if we could just have these people on the stage. Yeah. Kotariji, can I just request you to be on the stage? Okay. I want to... Yes, thank you very much. And I just think that we will be releasing to the market with this. This is, as I said, a blueprint. We are committed to forming this. We will certainly incubate this organization exactly the way we have done with some of the ideas. We have the industry behind us, and it should actually work well for the Indian industry, enhance the trust, take the fate of the industry in our own hands. We will say to the government what a jeweler will do, what a refiner will do and will not do. We will subject ourselves to a self-audit, independent audit. And this is exactly what the model we are also going to roll. By the way, sir, even in Dubai, we are going to be engaging the jewelers and the refiners. But the model is actually being led by India. So I'm very pleased to have the industry leaders here with us. So with those words, shall we just open?
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Everyone on the stage, a big thank you. And congratulations on the launch of this SRO. With this, ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed to the first panel at hand, I think this is one of the most awaited moments for some of our guests. For one of you, this could be a super lucky morning. We had promised to you a lucky draw at the Al Etihad stall. And we already have Mr. Khalaf here from the Al Etihad stall. May I request our guest of honor, Mr. Sulayem, on the stage. Inviting Mr. Sulayem on the stage. Mr. Khalaf, could you please escort him up here? It's time for us to find out that who is that one lucky delegate who's going to be walking home with 1 ounce of gold. And it's time for you to find out. Inviting the guest of honor to do the honors. Sir.
From Eventel Global, Abinyaya. Wow. Okay. No, sorry, DMCC, no, Sama. Sorry. Now you should feel better. It's you. Okay. Pradeep Sarkar.
Mr. Pradeep Sarkar, the Northeast head of IBJA. Can we please hear it for him? Is he here? Well, Mr. Sarkar, you are suddenly in some golden light here today morning. बहुत देर कर दी सरकार आते आते. Let's hear it for Mr. Pradeep Sarkar winning 1 ounce of gold today morning. Well, thank you. A big thank you to our guest of honor. And thank you, Al Ittihad, for making somebody's day super special. For everyone else who dropped their cards in there, good investment made. I'm sure you will, make some good relations with them. With this, moving on to our first panel discussion. You can already see the names up here. To give you a little bit of a background, India and UAE signed a historic agreement referred to as the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, CEPA, on February 18, 2022. This agreement became operational from 1st May 2022. CEPA has several concessions for gold bullion and jewelry sector. The discussion, India-UAE CEPA, opportunities for precious metal sector, would provide an in-depth analysis to the same. I would like to first invite the moderator of the session, inviting the Global Head of Legal and Compliance, SAM Precious Metals, Mr. Sadi Ahmed. Let's hear it for him. Also inviting the speakers of the panel, Mr. Chirag Thakkar of Amrapali. Inviting next, Mr. Mohammad Ayub, General Manager, SAM Precious Metals. Inviting Mr. Pramod Mohan, Director, Finmet Private Limited. Mr. Sanjeev Datta, Executive Director, DMCC. Mr. Harish Pawani, Managing Director, Bin Sab. And finally, Mr. Kinjal Shah, the Regional Director, India and Middle East, RJC. As each one of these panelists take their places, I leave this session in the hand of Mr. Sadi Ahmed. Gentlemen, you have 45 minutes to present your thoughts and the question-answer sessions and interaction. Have a great one, everyone. Invite over to Mr. Sadi Ahmed to take over the panel.
Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to all the eminent guests out here, distinguished personalities, and my fellow panelists here for today's discussion. The discussion for today is India-UAE CEPA agreement and the opportunities that it presents for the precious metal sector. Now, this is a very interesting time for the entire precious metal industry, especially with developments such as this agreement, which we are going to talk about in details, the launch of IIBX, which was inaugurated by His Excellency, the Prime Minister of India yesterday, and a lot of the members present out here were also there for this event. And another interesting development, last week's announcement from the UAE Ministry of Economy on a new policy that is going to be implemented from January 23 on responsible sourcing, which involves the importers and refineries in the UAE, and we'll try and touch upon those topics as well. Now, India and UAE have a long-standing cultural, political, economic ties that goes back many decades, you can say, and that has led to a very strong strategic relationship between the two nations. Over the years, they have become really strong trading partners. And this agreement, the CEPA agreement, the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, is hailed as something which is going to bring in a lot more relationship, or rather enhance the relationship between the two nations. It is expected that this is going to boost the trade between the two nations, and the non-oil trade, to perhaps even about 100 billion US dollars. It's about 40 to 60 US dollars at the moment. And this is what we need to understand at the moment. This is where we need to understand what are the advantages of CEPA, how the industry, especially the precious metal industry, is going to benefit from this scheme. Now, as most of you would be already aware, and I'm going to just introduce that very briefly and then move on to our panelist who's going to talk more about this. So, under this agreement, India has agreed to give a concession of 1% duty on import duty for gold that is imported from the UAE for up to 120 tons in the first year, and gradually is going to rise to 200 tons in 5 years. Now, obviously, this offers a great advantage as compared to the tariffs that's going to be charged to the rest of the world. And it's a huge opportunity for the precious metal sector. Also, there are concessions which are going to be available for silver. That's under the tariff elimination phase scheme. And ultimately, over a period of time, the entire tariff on silver is going to be eliminated. On the other side, very interestingly, UAE has actually offered to scrap the import duty, which was previously at 5% for jewelry that is imported from India to the UAE. Now, we need to understand how the entire industry is going to benefit from this. But what I would like to also emphasize that all of this can only be achieved if we focus collectively as an industry on responsible sourcing as well. Right? And this is something which the CEPA agreement has also emphasized on. And that is the reason, if you see, that the gold or silver that is eligible to get the benefit under this scheme has to be certified UAE or India Good Delivery Bar. Now, this is where I'd like to get Mr. Sanjeev into the discussion at this moment. Obviously, the MCC has a great role to play, in the success of CEPA. So, Mr. Sanjeev, I would like to understand from you, what are the opportunities and the risks which are involved, both in terms of CEPA and the responsible sourcing? So if you could just enlighten us on that, please.
Thank you, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't expect the first question. At least when you're answering second or third, you can draw upon what other panelists have said. But I'll wake myself up, and it's always great being back home. And if you take a couple of years into a rewind, much before this highly anticipated economic partnership agreement was done, in about 82 days, I believe, we've, as UAE, been working on a very robust regulatory framework when it comes to the key stakeholders such as the Ministry of Economy, DMCC, the Gold and Jewelry Group, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of work which has been happening on the governance side in terms of the good delivery. So we were custodians of the Dubai Good Delivery, as much of you are aware. And that was elevated with the hard work of several stakeholders to the UAE Good Delivery, which we launched during our Dubai Precious Metals Conference in 21. Now, obviously, that was not a standalone effort in terms of creating a very robust regulatory governance framework, but also we've established, with the presence of very eminent personalities, the Emirates Bullion Committee. And that is chaired by the Ministry of State, His Excellency, Ministry of State for Trade, Foreign Trade, His Excellency Zayudi. And I have seen the seriousness with which these matters are approached. He's present at every single meeting and chairing it, and very active in terms of participation. So that's the kind of work we've done, not only on the governance side, but also we are working on a trading platform which will track and trace gold moving in and out. Now, fast forward to July of this year, and I'll skip the CEPA for now because others will talk about it. But if you see our Future of Trade report, it's a thought leadership piece which DMCC works on. And one of the key facets, in that report, and very interesting because it coincides with what we're talking about, it is about creating a sustainable trading model. It's about multilateralism in trade, which will emanate from bilateral trade. And that's something we've been talking about. So if you see the India-UAE CEPA, or you see the Israel-UAE CEPA, or you see the work that's being done on the Colombia, Turkey, so on and so forth. So all of these economic partnership agreements are pointing to a direction of multilateralism in trade. And some of these markets are very relevant for the precious metal sector, like Turkey, for example. Turkey is a jewelry hub, India is a jewelry hub, and with the CEPA offering the preferential tariffs and the ease of flow in a sector such as the jewelry sector, in a sector such as the bullion sector, we've heard from our previous speakers about the preferential tariff for up to 200 tons of gold. I think it's only a very, very good coincidence to have. The governance on one side, the platforms on the other, the multilateral trade agreements on the other, and of course, all of this speaks perfectly to the future of trade that we see. So in summary, I think it's all good. In summary, it's the right time for defining these standards. In summary, there's so much happening in our market here in India, which we've heard of, and I don't want to sort of duplicate, but if you put all of these together, it's only ensuring a lot of responsible, seamless trade. And I think, as people say, truth and integrity will always form the bedrock of success. If you have these two elements, then nothing can take it away.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sanjeev, for your thoughts. I'll move on to Mr. Pawani. Sir, you've been into the industry for many, many years now, and you have a great experience, and you've seen the relationship between India and UAE develop. What are your views on the CEPA, and how do you think this is going to benefit the industry as a whole?
I think among this panel, or probably in this audience also, I'm the only one who has actually participated in CEPA, and that with a good experience. So I'm going to give credit where it is due, and also be critical, constructive criticism where it was. So I'll just try to make story as brief as possible. On 29th of April, because it was effective from 1st of May, India wanted a symbolic shipment, and they didn't know anybody, so Ministry of Commerce, if I'm not mistaken, called up JGPEC and said, okay, we want some symbolic shipment going out of India to UAE. And we were actually going right into the Eid holidays. Still the UAE authorities, including the Ministry of Economy, the head of customs, they were all there to receive the shipment, clear it with all fanfare. And India has actually benefited with that it is operating seamlessly. And even here, ministry had kept itself open on Saturday because that was a Saturday when it all happened. Now, similarly, after this happened, while this was going on, UAE also thought that they should have a symbolic shipment. And Ministry of Economy, which was heading this one, they didn't know whom to approach. So they approached DMCC, and DMCC they actually chose me to do the job. And this is going right in front of the Eid holidays, and I got a call at 10:45 on 29th of December from DMCC that tomorrow morning you will receive a call from Ministry of Economy. They will give you the number and they'll give you all the help, but you have to make one symbolic shipment. The shipment was made, Ministry of Economy personnel who were involved in the negotiations, and it was 88 days, by the way. And they were working from home because their offices were closed. It was shipped actually on the 1st. So I got a call on the 30th, which is the last day. On the evening of 1st, it was shipped. Unfortunately, this country is very large. We have a couple umpiring, regulator, whatever you may say. But in spite of having time in advance, because it was signed in February, no framework were put. There was nothing. In UAE, it arrived, it was cleared very easily, seamlessly. Whereas in India, it arrived on the 2nd of May. I was a bit enthusiastic to make a larger shipment of 100 kilos, which is worth roughly about 50 CR. Thinking that it will be cleared smoothly with the minor hiccups here and there. The shipment was stuck at the airport for almost 30 days. It was released finally because the regulations, nobody had checked the regulations prior between the CEPA signing and getting implemented on this one. I'm not speaking about the other commodities or whatever other, they were probably went smoothly. may have gone. I cannot speak for them. I can only speak for myself. So the shipment was cleared on 31st of May. And I don't want to name the logistic partner, but after 15 days, they said we cannot hold it anymore because the shipment was in customs. They said we have no control over it. But today, now it is released, so I can say that for last 2 weeks, the shipment was lying in Indian customs without having any insurance cover. The insurance was actually covered right after the shipment was released, was checked, and now it is with the security companies. People were very helpful. I mean, from the ministerial level, people were very helpful. Helpful, whether you take DGFT, head of the customs, but the operational thing, because of the regulations, is not there. Then nobody ever checked it, whether it was, I don't know whose job it is, whether it was RBI, DGFT, customs, or ministry, and how many ministries are involved. We understand that. As it stands now, that the regulation which came on 1st of July. The TRQ was issued on 1st of July, and I think more elaboration can be made by some of the people here. They are saying it is only provisional. And that is where it stands. So right now, I'm, without having any, there is an economic loss to it because it's just money lying here. So I have goods lying here for the last 2 months at 50 CR worth of it. So there is a cost of opportunity on that. And the importer has given that 1% duty difference, he has given a bond. So he is also crying on that. So I wish that and not a single kilo or on an ounce or a gram has been released in India under CEPA. That's my experience. I don't want to be critical, but this is the reality of life. And maybe from a regulator perspective, because after all, pardon me if I understood it wrong, but when you came, that you said you are on a loan to IFC from Reserve Bank of India. So, I wish the regulators would go and approach somebody that, where exactly do we stand? Now, whose job it is, whether it is DGFT, whether it is Customs, whether it is Ministry of Commerce, whether it is RBI.
All right, thank you so much for sharing that experience. I'm sure that, the concerned people would definitely be working on this area, and very soon we'll see more smoothness coming into the process. All right, I'll now move on to Mr. Ayub. Mr. Ayub, the precious metal refineries have a very important role to play both in CEPA and responsible sourcing. Now, what would you say is the role of a precious metal refinery in the success of CEPA? How do you see that?
Well, first of all, good morning to everyone. It's always good to be
I
here.
think you have a slide as well. You sent me the slides. So can the organizers put the slides? It's fine?
Okay. Like Ahmed. Ahmed prepared a speech, but then he threw it away. And it looks much better this way. I'll follow Ahmed. And Ahmed, it's always good to have you and see you around. You give us more confidence in being around here representing the UAE and Dubai refineries. Now, of course, under the new agreement, we are having so much of responsibilities. We all heard what Ahmed said about Dubai and the DMCC and how they are striving to grow and develop and come up with the new towers and services and licensing. Of course, there's a responsibility on the refiners as well. Dubai provides a very good foundation for us to do business, and not only to do business, is also to invest in the infrastructure and grow on that side. Let me talk a little bit about SAM. So we have really went ahead and invested highly in the infrastructure. We are ready to cater this type of initiative and support it. We have grown the capacity of the refinery to start producing up to 2 tons in a day, working 24/7 to better cater the market. we should be only looking not only about catering the market and services, talking about the quality also. To support this initiative, you need to ensure your qualities and the confidence of your clients within your products. I'm happy to announce from this stage that Sam Precious Metals got the UAE Good Delivery just last week. So we are now an accredited UAE Good Delivery. We have also achieved RJC COC, Chain of Custody, a month ago as well. So as you can see, we're working not only on products and qualities and refinery, we're working also on complying and get accreditation that should support this initiative and should support also the responsible sourcing of the refinery. So yes, I would say we are ready to cater this and service this industry and support the initiatives.
Right. Thank you. I think all the refineries will have a very important role to play. Right. I'll move on to Mr. Pramod. Mr. Pramod, you have a very very high experience, over 25 years of experience in commodities and financial markets. Now, I want to understand from you what would be the role of financial institutions and banks in CEPA, and also liquidity for good delivery bar. As we know that there are no banks that are offering repos in the UAE. So how would you see liquidity for UAE Good Delivery bar coming in? Also, as you mentioned that Sam Precious Metal has got UAE Good Delivery, and somebody who has been involved in the DGD process and now being a member of the Independent Governing Council of UAE Good Delivery. Can you explain to us the difference? Just elaborate a bit on that, please.
Okay. So basically, I'll just split it into two parts, as you rightly said. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. But before that, I owe Harish Bhai an apology. The reason being, I got a call from TMCC on 29th evening saying, we need to make a shipment into India, and a symbolic shipment because of the CEPA agreement, and whom should we approach? I said, if we look at the market, the only person who really we can go to is Harish Bhai, for the simple reason that he has been the most consistent supplier into India since 1998. So you need to give it to him, because banks have come and gone, traders have come and gone, but his company has been one institution that has been consistently supplying gold into India, gold and silver in India since 1998. But honestly, my mistake. But again, I thought he really deserves that credit for making that symbolic shipment. So coming back to the questions, in terms of I'll take the regulatory part first. Again, when you come to the regulations, there was nothing wrong with the DGD regulation, okay? In fact, under ABS, Ahmed bin Sulaim's able leadership, DMCC was the first to come out with a protocol in terms of a Dubai Good Delivery. And it was pretty much in line with the global regulations, OECD principles. But the only problem there was the business and the regulator, it was together. So from an optics perspective, it was a bit of a, it really didn't go well. So when it comes to IBX, you have got IFSC as a regulator. When it comes to DIFC, you've got DFSC as a regulator. But when we speak about DMCC, it was just DMCC as a business, but you had the regulations, but in order to enforce, you didn't have a regulator per se. So that's where we had the missing link. And the transition from DGD into UAE Good Delivery, it's a huge change purely because it's done by UAE government. So I'm not aware of any other governments that has really come out with a regulation in terms of precious metals globally. Not only they have come out with the regulations, there is also about enforceability. Just last week, the ministry came out and clearly said that not only the UAE Good Delivery refiners, but all refiners in UAE, which is around 28 in number approximately, has to do responsible sourcing, and if not, there will be fines up to 5 million dirhams. So, that's a huge change from from what it used to be in the DGD era. So, so the transition has been smooth. So you've got government as a regulator. There is enforceability that is happening. So I don't think, UAE definitely is one of the most secure market when it comes to precious metal in terms of sourcing. Coming to your second question in terms of liquidity, after the exit of the bullion banks, the global bullion banks from UAE, we realized that the repos has not been, as you rightly mentioned, there's not been much repos happening in the market. So whenever there is a huge discount into the market, what used to happen is that people used to take the metal, refine it from the refiners, and then it used to get shipped out to an LBMA refiner, where they eventually will put it into the London market for liquidity. So we checked with the banks to figure out why is it happening? Why they're not doing the repos? And we realized the fact that it's about transparency, responsible sourcing, and counterparty risk. So we looked at it. In fact, we had the first meeting with Sanjeev and told them that we need to work out something for providing more liquidity to the market. And he said GMCC is all supportive of that. And then we had DGCX as an exchange, which is very active in terms of metal products. And we sat together, realized there is an opportunity, and based on which worked out a product where you have got fresh UAE good delivery bars coming in from the refiner, going directly into the DGCX, warrants are being created, and then banks provide liquidity for that. So I'm extremely happy to say that we got Taimur from DGCX, we got the chairman of DGCX here, we got the approval from the regulator last week. So, and this happened just before CEPA. Now that with CEPA happening, it's really a great product to provide more liquidity for the UAE good delivery refiners.
Right, thank you so much. I think that's a very interesting product, and a lot of people would be interested in that. Mr. Chirag, now the CEPA will give Indian jewelers a duty-free access to the UAE market. Now, what do you think? Do you think that the CEPA can help India become more attractive as a manufacturing hub? And I have another question for you. We've been talking a lot about the advantages when it comes to the gold. What do you think would be the advantage when it comes to silver, and how do you think this agreement would benefit the silver industry?
Very good morning, everyone. So before just coming to the answer to your questions, I would like to see Indian government where it started. If you can touch the timeline, 97, 98, government opened a consignment business. So at that time, first shipment took around 10, 15 days to clear because of the consignment business. There was no system set. The second milestone achieved was in 2013 when the Dori imports were welcomed into the country. So in 2013, also the first Dori shipment around took 15, 20 days to come settle. And then after the other touch point, if I put, Indian refiners came to be recognized as the Indian good standard, which is again a bigger milestone where government has come and set on the side and said that we are there on the whole value chain. After Indian good standard, now we have again a bigger milestone where yesterday we had a launch by our Prime Minister ji, where we are setting up a world international spot exchange. So I would rather see India UAE CEPA is again going to be a very, very, very strong and advantageous for both the nations. If you see from 97 till today, Dubai, being a nation, has been a very supportive trade partner on the bullion side, because it was the major bullion exporter to India. So that is one. Now coming to the Indian jewelers, obviously when the agreement was sorted, there was circulars coming from the government where you have to apply for the TRQ, and the TRQ is allotted. So I'm sure it is a direct and indirect and actual user condition where it actually goes to the jeweler and not to a bullion trader. So that is where government is trying to see where that this supply of bullion actually goes to the jeweler, and it can sustain the whole value chain, and there is no disruption coming into the market, right? And coming on the silver side, I'm sure silver is going to again follow the same strides where the manufacturer, the manufacturing hub would be having an advantage, and they'll be able to take the benefit and can distribute, can penetrate more into the market. That is it.
Thank you so much. I'll now move on to Mr. Kinjal. Mr. Kinjal, as a representative of RJC and a body which is basically, you can say, a watchdog, what would you say is the role of RJC in responsible supply chain? And also, I want to understand a bit more about the RJC chain of custody product. How is it beneficial commercially? So if you could just enlighten us on that, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. Responsible Jewelry Council, as probably few of the people in the audience knows that, it's a 17 years old organization. And we have started with 14 founding members, and then across the globe, companies and associations have started joining us. And I'm very proud to say that DMCC is one of our, very proud member in UAE, and have been supporting us immensely. Similarly, we have several organizations in India also who have been supporting and RJC. Of course, our ultimate motive, like since we are not-for-profit organization, our ultimate motive is to uplift the industry practices bar. We have two standards. One is code of practices, which mainly focuses on management practices, ethical and sustainable management practices, whereas another is chain of custody, which completely interface with the ethical sourcing and transparent internal traceability of the precious metal at this point in time. And we are also working on creating chain of custody for diamonds in coming future. Now, as I can say, chain of custody, it's one of its own kind of a standard, which is a strongest and highest category of standards, which is really very, very complicated to comply with. And I can say very proudly, because when you feel some pain, then there is only gain. So that's very important. Standards of RJC are absolutely not very easy to comply with, and that's the only reason why when I look at the commercial advantage of RJC standards, India Good Delivery List programs, whomsoever the exchange has came up with this program, has a Responsible Jewelry Council membership as one of the mandatory membership for the eligible gold refiners. And so I can clearly say that in India Good Delivery List program, RJC is there, and it's clearly adopted by most of the principal gold refiners at this point of time in India. Of course, we have the strongest gold refiners from UAE and across the globe also under membership. And when we talk about chain of custody, see, chain of custody is very critical nowadays because most of the major brands, see, what is the final outcome of gold? We have to understand this. Final outcome of gold, probably 90% as per the World Gold Council report, is it goes into jewelry and ornaments. Okay, so what we are creating for our consumers and customers, that's very important. Now, in today's time, across the globe, all major brands or all major consumers are fully aware about sustainable products and whether it's been made by transparent and ethical way or not. So chain of custody completely interface with those questions of the consumers, and we try and ensure and help our members to demonstrate that whatever the product they make, whether it is jewelry, whether it is any specific ornaments, or maybe it's a part of ornament, it's how it is made, whether it is sustainable or not, whether it is been taken care in line with OECD due diligence alignment or not, whether the work practices base work practices have been taken care or not. So health and safety of the employees, how the workers have been treated, whether human rights have been treated in a right way or not. And this all will be interlinked in chain of custody. And I'm really very proud to
Sorry,
say
Mr.
that.
Kinjal, I'm stopping you in between. We are actually run out of time. I didn't realize, but it's very unfair that I've got such, eminent personality and 6 of them, and you're giving me just 45 minutes to talk to them. So I will take a liberty and exceed by 5 minutes. Because I want to involve the audience. I have a list of questions which, I thought follow-up questions I'm going to ask the guests here. But I think we have a lovely audience here, and I'm sure a lot of you would want to get their views. So can we have some questions? I'll try and make it very short. So just please, just introduce yourself and the organization, and who are you directing the question to, please?
Yeah, I am Parthviraj Kothari from President IBCA. My question to Harish Pawani. Harish bhai, Gujarati ma ko? Go ahead. Harish bhai, there is, in India there is a lot of refineries is there. And in the refineries, Dore bar importing from African country, and only the 0.65% is the duty difference between Dore and finished product. And in a year, almost 270 tons of import of Dore bar in India. So is it effect on all Indian refineries also? Because 120 tons of 600 crores of customs duty difference. And 120 tons come less than 1% customs duty as per CEPA agreement, and 0.65 for Dore business. So it's affect Indian refinery industries, and what to do?
No, there won't be. There will not be any effect on, because it's only 120 tons rising by 20 tons every year to 200 tons. Only thing will happen is that it will replace part of the, because this you are still paying 9% duty, and you will either use it, manufacturers, jewelry manufacturers for domestic use will get it at 1% less duty, and they will be more competitive domestically. So it will not have any bearings as far as this only bearing it has is that 120 tons to start with, which will end 31st March. So that will come from Dubai. So where it is benefiting, and I'm not saying Dubai, sorry, it is UAE, CEPA agreement is between UAE, so anybody could ship. So the only benefit is to the traders or the suppliers who will be supplying UAE good delivery bars. That is the only difference. As far as Dore is concerned, it's going to go business, because the Indian import is somewhere between 600 to 900 tons. So you have a 900 tons of gold coming in. Part of it is made into jewelry and shipped out under a zero replenishment scheme. So whatever 400-500 tons is lying, it's going to have a zero, no bearings at all.
Thank you.
Right, thank you so much. I'll take one more question, just last question, because, she is looking at me very dangerously. I know she's going to kill me, but please, can I have the last question?
I'm Farooq Qasim from Al Bukhari, Dubai. I want to know the implication of silver under this agreement. As I'm not aware of what is happening, anybody can answer this from any of the panelists.
Any of the panelists want to answer that?
I think still there is a more clarity to come on the silver side. I think by next 1 month or maybe couple of months, we'll have a more clarity on that one. But still, there is nothing very documented where we can have more clarity as we have in gold.
Just to add to what Chirag mentioned, in paper what we have seen is you're starting off with 0.5% differential in the first year, going 1% every year up to 5 years. So effectively, you're talking about a 5% differential by end of 5 years. And one important part is there is no cap in terms of the quantity. And also there is a 3% value addition which has been mentioned in the paper that we have seen. So which means there has to be a 3% value addition if you need to get that differential from Dubai, UAE.
All right, thank you so much. So we'll end the discussion here. And just to quickly summarize that yes, CEPA offers great opportunity for the precious metal sector. However, there is a lot of work that still needs to be done, and we need to collaborate together as an industry to make sure that we reap the benefits from the scheme and work together for a better future. Thank you, everybody. You've been a lovely audience, and enjoy the rest of the day, please.
Thank you so much, Sadi sir. And I'm sorry, sometimes I have to do the dirty job and be the timekeeper. It's said in India, ganda hai par dhanda hai ye. But having said that, sir, one final request of you, presenting a memento to each one of our speakers. And once again, let me invite each one of you to please meet up with our speakers, our panelists offline also, and please ask any questions that you might have. This platform is all about networking on stage and off stage. Starting with inviting Mr. Sadi Ahmed to present a memento to Mr. Chirag Thakkar. After Mr. Chirag Thakkar, a big thank you to Mr. Mohammad Ayub for joining us on the stage. Mr. Pramod Mohan. Mr. Ayub, sir. Gentlemen, please stay on the stage for a group picture. Mr. Pramod Mohan, thank you, sir, for your time up here. A big thank you to Mr. Sanjeev Datta. And thank you to the lone wolf clapping out there. A big thank you to Mr. Harish Pawani. And a big thank you to Mr. Kinjal Shah. May I request Mr. Kamlesh Sharma to please join us on the stage to present a memento to Mr. Sadi Ahmed for chairing this session. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a combined round of applause for each one of these very eminent people? They were sharing some amazing thoughts. I hope the circle continues even after this panel is done from the stage.